Welcome to Wise Move, where we dive into real estate, real life, and real wisdom. I'm your host, Meredith Buckland, a top realtor in the greater Atlanta area with over 12 years of experience. I have had the privilege to help hundreds of clients navigate their moves successfully while gaining a wealth of wisdom along the way. As Einstein said, wisdom is not a product of schooling, but of the lifelong attempt to acquire it. So join me as I connect with clients, colleagues, and industry experts to discuss market trends, share valuable advice, along with real-life stories that can help make every move a wise move. Welcome to Wise Move. I am here with friend and client Tyler Moose. And Tyler lives here in the Georgia area, and he has got an interesting background from military to now his business pursuits. And he's one of my favorite clients, he and his family. And I just wanted to invite him along to share some of the journey of that experience with his family, and then also his new adventures that he has going. And Tyler, welcome to Wise Move.
Thanks, Meredith. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And of course, you and I crossed paths years ago on your very first real estate purchase. And then from there, now we've had a recent sell of that home and all of that. So I'd love to set the stage, though, Tyler, of your background and going back as a military kid. And so if you could share a little bit about your background and where you came from in that military experience to Georgia, that'd be great.
Absolutely. So my father is a retired Marine. He spent 20 years in service, and that really gave us an awesome opportunity to move around and experience a lot of different places to live. And that was just an awesome opportunity to see different cultures and to experience the moves and all of that it entails, and really just build resiliency in my childhood. I think that's one of the things that I got the most out of it was finding community in the place that you're in and not necessarily having to stay in one spot. And as a kid, you learn to make friends all over the place. And growing up, we lived in North Carolina and overseas in Japan, ended up in Florida for a bit prior to my career bringing me to Atlanta, where we got the opportunity to work with you.
Yeah, and I imagine all of that adaptability and resiliency, like you said, did play a part in shaping you into where you are today. And how do you see that in your career now and in your personal life? Is it still playing a part in that?
Oh, absolutely. I think being a military kid and then also moving around, you learn to make friends and to engage with people from all different walks of life. And I think that's one of the things that's benefited me is I didn't necessarily have a concern about moving for my career and having that opportunity to switch my locations. And that helped me grow personally. And then also bringing that same tenet with my family is looking at the decisions that we were making in our moves and saying, is this the best choice for our family, for our career, for our kids? And that really helps make it a lot easier when you put that into perspective.
Yeah, and you have a great household of kids. Tell me all about your kids and the recent one that was just added.
Yes. My wife Erica and we have 4 kids. Our oldest is 9. So we've got 2 girls and 2 boys. So our oldest is 9, almost 10. We've got a 7, almost 8-year-old, a 4-year-old, and then almost 1-year-old. So this month we've got 2 birthdays. So
Wow.
it's busy in our house, but they really are our world, and most of our decisions are centered on what is the best thing to bring them up in a family of faith, a family of resiliency, and just being good people. That's really what we're trying to do is be in a good community and raise good children to be good adults out in the world.
I love that. And I love how you guys focus on your family and the decisions that you make that involve them. And it's something that is admirable. And I know they are going to benefit from long term having that in their lives. And I know your leadership style. So you've been at CarMax. Tell me a little bit about that role and kind of your leadership there and how that's been a career path for you.
Yeah, I really got lucky with my career with CarMax. I started it right out of high school as an inventory associate, washing cars, and I never thought that this would be a career. I had great mentors who happened to be a retired service person as well. who mentored me and really showed me that this was a career opportunity long term. Fast forward some 17 years later, and I've had progressive opportunities to grow and to lead different areas of the business. And I'm in a space now where I'm really shaping the future of CarMax and being able to lead big projects that involve and impact a wide range of our associates. And so really that opportunity and my background has led me into that servant leadership style where I really want to find ways for our people to live their best and to be their best. And so I look for ways to encourage them, to empower them, and give them the space and the tools to be successful. And I know that by doing that through them, that I will be successful, CarMax will be successful, and that our customers will be taken care of. It's been an awesome journey, and I'm really looking forward to my continued success there as well.
That's so interesting, Tyler, because 17 years at one company, and we're talking about someone that's had their life on the move all the time. So you would think that at some point that would be similar in a job. You don't often see that tenure play out, but it's obviously been a great fit and something that you've been able to grow into. And like you said, your servant leadership bring that level of impact to the company. And for 17 years, that's just speaks highly of you as well, your commitment to them and them as a company, that it's been a good journey for you in that.
Yeah, it really has. And the way that I frame that, because if you look at CarMax in particular, and a lot of Fortune 500 companies, they have tenure, and they do that by taking care of their people. And so in my leadership style, I try and do that for the people that I surround myself with, the employees that I have. And I try and show that this is not just a job to hop between and to bounce around in. And I have been committed to this work and to the organization because they have similar values and they project a similar leadership style across the board. And so that's made it easy for me to stay for as long as I have. And I've been rewarded. I've had opportunities to grow, to learn. Obviously, there's a financial piece that everybody has to be thinking about. And that tenure and that commitment to continue my growth has enabled me to be rewarded for that. It's obviously not just about the financial piece of it, but a lot of people think that they have to do that by bouncing around to different organizations. And there is something about the tenure and being able to stay with an organization that, for me, I'm committed. I want them to be committed to my growth, and it's been equally beneficial for both sides.
Yeah, and to see, like you said, now you're training the next generation and you have that impact to them. And so many of your colleagues, I have had the opportunity as well to assist and walk that path. So I know their love and appreciation for you and for the company. And it's just been a great dynamic to see. And that's kind of how we got introduced years ago, through a colleague and at CarMax. And we were introduced, and you and Erica were buying your first home. And if you remember all the way back to that decision, and how was that different, and what were the differences for you from that first transaction to then this last phase where we then sold that first home and bought your second one? Do you remember that whole first time home experience, what that was like?
That was so stressful. From the consumer side, it was stressful, but we were so thankful and have gratitude for you being alongside us on that journey and educating us. I think for anybody doing something for the first time, there's so much to learn, even with the guidance that you were able to provide. And really, like we mentioned earlier, it is about the decisions that we're making for our family. And it was something that we knew was going to be our first home, that we could mold and create a life in, that we could grow in, and just wanted to find something that we could raise our family. Addison was our first child there, and we raised her there for a large portion of her life so far. And you really just take in that first home purchase is really about education and learning as much as you can and taking that towards any future purchase that you have. And so we learned a ton and had great mentorship and guidance from you along the way. And that really just spun and helped support it being an easier decision down the road for our current lives.
Yeah, and I often, as I come to each client, I bring to it as well my own experiences in the back. And I remember going through the real estate experiences myself and the what you don't know that you don't know. and then the surprises that came that I wasn't anticipating, maybe with extra cost or different things. And I remember when I started in the real estate journey, my goal was that all of my clients would feel that they were as educated as possible, that there was nothing that was so overwhelmingly shocking that would happen, and or they would just sense that didn't feel right, but I don't know why. And I never wanted that. And not that I was always successful in that, but my goal was always, hey, ask me as many questions. It might be the same question over and over again, but I'm here so that when you get to that closing table, you have such a confidence in what you're doing, and you're not wondering what just happened. I don't understand this. That didn't feel right. So when I bring a client to that direction, my goal is that they feel that. And then of course, I'm also hopeful that we have formed such a relationship that when you go to buy or sell again, that's, you think that's the person I want to go back to. I had such a good experience. It wasn't just a quick transaction and see you, and we never have any more communication from there.
Yeah, and that was the thing that I really enjoyed. Obviously, you came as a recommendation, and that's super helpful. But the relationship that we built over the time and the confidence that I had that you were, for us, you were breaking things down into layman's terms,
Hmm.
where a space that can be super technical, I need that acumen. You provided us that experience and that knowledge to feel confident in the decisions that we were making and helping us navigate the financing part, the inspection part, the getting to the close. There's so much that went into that first home purchase for us, and it really made it so much easier to come back and be like, we're sad, but we're ready to take the step to sell. And then that brings in a whole nother set of knowledge that we're like, what are we doing? We don't know anything. And I remember you giving us so many resources to just, are we making the right decision? Are we prepared to make that decision? And when we are, here's what we'll need to do to really get things in motion. And every step of the way, you just brought that knowledge and made us feel like we knew what we were doing, even though we relied on you so much to get us to the table on the purchase and then the sale and then our purchase of our current home as well.
It's very emotional. And when you called me the second time and said, hey, I think it's time for that next step home and our family's growing, there is already an awareness of the process. But like you said, now you're flipping to the seller side, and it's how to be strategic. And I remember our conversations on the timing. And sometimes those conversations happen months or a year out or more before the actual event occurs. And all of that process is a lot. You guys, maybe you could tell me a little bit, our audience, a little bit about your journey through that, because as you started that, you're where many people are. You're at that, hey, we've had this home we love, we've raised our children, we've had our pets here, we've loved this home well, and now it's time for that next home. And what were the decisions that got you to that point of now we're ready? And maybe share even some of the journey of the preparation that took place from that point on.
I think for us, it was probably a lot simpler than maybe some of the audience. We, at that point, so I mentioned that when we bought the home, we had one child, we had our oldest. We welcomed in two more children to the home. And simply, if we just looked at it at the base, we had no space. We were on top of each other. We had two bathrooms, three kids were sharing one, and having two boys after an oldest daughter. You could tell that she needed some space. And so simply it was, we just needed to have something with a little bit more space than what our first home had provided us. But that was emotional. That was, we had brought two of our children home. We had done renovations to the house. We had made it our home, and there's a lot of memories, there's a lot of emotion. But we knew that it was time, and that's what helped trigger. We mentioned earlier about the family being the basis of the decisions that we were making, and that made it easier. It didn't make it great, but we knew that we needed to do it for our family to continue to grow and thrive. And so I remember we actually talked probably a year before we actually pulled the trigger. And I said, I think this is what we're going to do. I'm waiting on some stuff with work. I don't know what's going to happen, but what do I need to know to really be prepared? And so Erica and I had that opportunity, I think, to really digest. Some people don't have as much time.
Mm-hmm.
But for us, it was mentally and emotionally preparing for that decision to take place. And it gave us an opportunity to clean out some of the toys that the kids weren't playing with, go through the clothes, organize the house. And that was really, I think, a good opportunity and transition point when it came to truly being prepared to sell was, okay, let's look through the things that we have and what can we get rid of, what can we donate, what can we sell, and simplify our living so that way when we did move into a new home, we didn't have to go through that all over again. We were ready and we were prepared. And then it came to the point where you are decluttering and you're making your home more show ready. And the resources that you provided helped a ton and get us to that place where we knew that we were ready to put it on the market. You and I had also gone and looked at homes to say, is this the right time? Are we making the right decision? And you start walking into homes that have more square footage, have more bedrooms, more bathrooms, and you're like, yes, I need the space. The yard, we need the space. And it just made sense. And those things just started falling into place the way that we needed to. And ultimately, we talked and we calibrated on the decision that we needed to make, and it was about timing and trying to get as close to the end of the school year to be as least disruptive for us, for the children. And you and I talked about this before, but it is really just helpful that things happen for a reason, and those puzzle pieces really fell together in the best way possible for us, both on the sale and moving to our new home. And we couldn't have asked for a more seamless experience.
And I know we also talked about, the preparation of your home and how important that is. And sometimes when you approach, when I approach a seller and I'm like, here are the steps to have the most successful entry, because you have that one shot to make your first impression. And it can seem exhausting, but you can then see the benefits when you do the prep and do the work. And you guys certainly understood the assignment and did that. But tell me a little bit about that concept to you, even of all that really goes into or should go into from a seller perspective to get your home just in top market condition.
For sure. I think that it is so important for a prospective buyer to come in and feel like they can make the place their own. And so for us, we knew we had three small kids. There were toys everywhere. But if the prospective buyer wasn't a family with small kids, that's probably the last thing that they wanted to see. Or they wanted to be able to see themselves in that home. And so they don't want to see all of our family heritage on the wall. And so for us, it was really about how can we simplify our living style? How can we make it easy for us to maintain in between the showings or the open house? And so we did everything that we could to just essentially pack for the new home, even though we weren't there yet, even though we weren't on the market yet, but really just get our home as show ready as possible. That way, when those things did start to happen, we didn't have to feel overwhelmed with, oh, I've got to clean, I've got to rush, we've got a showing at 9 a.m., we've got to get the kids out for school. And we just really try to make it very easy for us to be in a routine. That way, the next showing we were prepared for, or the open house we were prepared for. And that way, our photos could also really shine and allow the home to be the focus instead of the objects and the things that were in there. So for us, we leveraged checklists that you provided and resources that you provided, which was super helpful. And we really took that as the base of what we needed to do to get ready. And I would expect anybody else to really take that to heart and say, what are the things that I can do to have somebody walk in and feel like this is their home? And it was so successful for us. I think your photography also helped a ton. You've got great partners there. And I just remember looking at our home, and we actually downloaded some of them. And we're like, that was a home to be proud of. That was a home that we made memories in, that we want to remember, and really just helped us be so successful on our first weekend of on the market.
Yeah, I remember when you found that home and you landed on that, it had such a great backyard, and you guys even added improvements to it along the way. You were updating me on what you've done, and it was great to see that journey take place as you made it your own and built upon that foundation. And then, of course, as you said, simplifying your lifestyle to get ready for the market is so important, especially for a family with young kids, because it's you against them almost, that you're cleaning up, they're undoing. And that's hard when you've got your job and school and life and, okay, hey, a showing wants to happen in 2 hours. And how do we get ready for that? Making that as seamless as possible. But then even doing the small tweaks and the fixes, the curb appeal, and making sure things are in good condition. So when we hit that inspection time, there's not a whole nother list that we go through and discover. So all of that takes time and effort. But if a seller will do that, then they can typically see a very good result from that, an increased value aspect that's added from the buyer walking in, and suddenly they see a home that's been loved and well cared for and where they can see themselves there. So you guys also took that journey. And then yes, I love my photography group that I use. I work with Visually Sold, and they do a phenomenal job. And sometimes you'll see real estate photos and it looks like the agent used their cell phone, or the camera's angle is so skewed and it doesn't give you a good reality. So I'll usually give you guys a list and say, hey, here's how to prep for the photos. And I try to come in and help on the day before or whatever, do small tweaks. And I say, you're going to love me and hate me through this whole thing, because I'm going to walk in and go, that needs to come down, move that, shift that. But the goal is really to get you best positioned, because those photos, once they hit online, more than 80% of people fall in love just from that one impression, or they're turned off from what they see. So we try to be strategic in how the photos look and how they go online, and even the angles and things that I don't put online, just because I want buyers to see the home and fall in love with it and come. But then, yeah, it's a gift almost to the seller to see their home, all the work they've done. And now it's in a beautiful magazine spread almost of photos. So I love that ability for you guys to have those photos after and remember, because everything at one moment is totally clean and show ready, and there it is. So yeah, I love that. So what advice would you give someone who's maybe looking to sell and that may feel overwhelmed? Is there any particular advice you can give them that helped you?
I think the biggest thing for us was to be patient. Erica and I, with you, looked at a ton of homes, and we had a big list. And as we went through, we were starting to refine the things that were must-haves, or the things that we could improve upon, and the true requirements of what we felt comfortable with in the home. And so when I think about a first purchase or a next purchase, it really is just the patience of continuing to refine what you want and what you are going to live with, or what you could improve upon. And I remember through that journey, you kept reminding us that we can change the wall color, we can change the carpet, and we can make improvements on the things that are not necessarily taking a wall down or expanding the footprint of the home, but really asking ourselves, could we see us in this home? And then patience through the next steps of the journey. I feel like in one sense, there's this hurry up and get through the offer phase. And then it is, okay, we've got to be patient to move through inspection and due diligence, and just being open to asking questions. It doesn't have to be the right question, but just leveraging you, their realtor, their lender, to ask all of these questions that they may not know the answer to, and they don't need to know the answer to, and leveraging their team. And that's really what we felt working with you, was that we had a team, and it was you as the point person, that project manager in this real estate journey. And you made sure that we had all the right resources and brought recommendations and people that you trusted. And because of our trust with you and the experience that we had so far, it made it really easy for us to move towards the closing table. And so just patience and being inquisitive, and making sure that if you're not understanding something, you ask that question, you put it out there. And your realtor, Meredith, would be the best place to start. It was for us, and really helped guide us through that entire journey.
Yeah, and I think you touched on a couple of points, and one was often as you're looking at a property, understanding the what can I change, what can I not change, and is that a deal breaker?
Yeah.
And not getting hung up on maybe the color of the wall, or something that can be easily changed and you can't get beyond that, but something that you can't change and it's really a deal breaker, then you need to be willing to be patient. Look for the right one, not settle, because it is a big investment. It's a big investment of time and money and resources and all emotions that go into this. And you don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to just grab something and not see the big picture of it. And sometimes when you're in the middle of it, it's hard to see that because you're just like, so panicked over some of the small details. And so being able to kind of step back and clear your head a little bit and kind of go, okay, what's important here? What do I need? What the must haves? What are non-negotiables? And thinking through all of that is very key. And then also having a good resource. I was thrilled to be your resource in that. I mean, it's a high level of trust when somebody gives you that and says, can you help me with one of my biggest investments? And that's not something I, take as, oh, sure, let me, just be quick and dirty with this. But really to discover that with you and walk that journey with you is a huge responsibility and trust. And I want at the end of it for you to feel like that you were well served in that. And then I'm bringing you resources that can help. I know a lot of times and you probably see this even in the car industry and stuff too, in sales, but we have so much information at hand with Google and research and our colleagues and peers. And sometimes we can feel like we're really well enlightened already with all the information, but there's so many other details to it. So just as you walk through it thinking, I don't really need an agent, or I can just call anyone on the sign and they can help me, but understanding the value of having your own representation that's guiding you through the what you don't know part of the contracts and the inspections and the things bigger and more beyond than just the call somebody on a sign, make a quick deal type. And hopefully you found that. Hopefully you and Erica found that to be the case for yourselves as we went through that, yeah, this was something I wouldn't want to go through on my own necessarily and
Oh, for sure.
try to guess it.
I would, and even you and I have always sent you homes and listings and whatnot, but to go actually into that transaction, I would not do that alone. I would not. The value of having you there as a partner and as a mentor in the experience and leading us through the transaction from offer to close, it is worth every penny. And I would not want to do that myself. I would not want to do that uneducated. This is not my expertise. Yes, I understand sales, I understand negotiation, being in the car business and having a business. And at the end of the day, the investment for somebody who has that expertise is worth it 10x to simplify the transaction, to give you the knowledge and the experience of how to move forward efficiently, how to move forward without any hiccups, or being able to overcome those barriers that may arise. So having someone like you has been a godsend in our transactions and has just really helped us feel comfortable every step.
And going through the second time with you, like you said, being patient, but there's also that timing, right, of releasing the home that you're in order to find that next best home for your family. That, some people can approach it, they can buy first and then sell. Others need to sell first and then buy. So there's that kind of unknown period of time where, hey, we're releasing our home and we may not have that next home found, or vice versa. And there's all that transition that is sometimes the trickiest part of it. Do you remember your experience in that with
Oh,
the
yeah.
sell and then the purchase and the timing of all of that?
Wouldn't forget it. Again, I think that we were so lucky in our transactions and so grateful for your help in getting us to the table on both of those deals of our first sale and our new home. And I think that timing, it was stressful for us because we had kids in school. We were moving to an area that was 45 minutes away, and we just needed things to really line up the best way possible. And you helped us navigate that with the offers that we were receiving and how much time could we spend in our first home before we transitioned, and was our new home going to be ready? And similarly, in the advice previously, it is really about patience and understanding that we can only control the things that we can control. And to be okay with a little bit of disruption. I remember you telling me that, like, we may have to get into a rental for a period of time, and just being okay with the things that were going to happen, knowing that at the long term, it would work out the way that we needed it to work out. And so the flexibility, the patience is really key in these transactions. It is a big purchase. It is a big disruptor for a family. And so just trying to navigate that, it took a lot of patience on our side and knowing that we were doing the right thing in the long term. And we were very fortunate, very lucky that things lined up where we were able to stay in our first home until we closed on our next home. And so we were in that position. We needed to close on our first home to leverage the down payment for our second home. And it made everything possible for us, and everything worked out the way that it needed to work out for us.
Yeah, that whole transition, you being best prepared for the market, enabled you to get some of the best offers, which allowed you the extra time you needed to negotiate and say, this is on my terms. I want to stay a little longer because my second home is not quite ready, and trying to bridge that. That really sets you up for success when a seller understands that assignment, that, hey, the very first offers we can get are going to be, could be so strong if you hit this right, that you will be in the driver's seat of this, and you will be able to negotiate those. Because when clients come to me and they say, hey, this is my timetable and I need to sell first and then buy, my first thing is, hey, I've never had anyone homeless yet, but I've also got to navigate that carefully with them so that there's the least disruption to their family. And so I do try to give you worst case scenarios. We need a plan B and make sure you have a spot to land. It could be temporary, but until we secure that next one, or when we can go secure the next one, we may have a little bit of lapse of time. But then, of course, when you get your home on the market and it's in the best condition and terms, then you're able to maybe bridge that a little bit better with some of the negotiation. And certainly guys were, and then we could move into that. And you guys found a home that was a new construction. So tell me a little bit about how that was coming into a new construction versus the first time, which was a home that was just being a resale. What were the advantages that you guys saw, or maybe the challenges that you had on that?
I think the challenge was like not knowing how to work with a new construction space, and we leveraged you and your expertise to help navigate the transaction. When I think about our first home, it was something that we knew that we were first-time home buyers. We weren't making a ton of money. We couldn't go totally renovate everything exactly how we wanted it, and it was going to be a project, a longer-term project. And when we moved and ended up landing on our now home, we didn't really want to have to do all of these projects. And I think the new construction was a surprise. I don't think either one of us were expecting to be in a home that was new construction, but then to also be a home where we walked in and we didn't feel like we had to do anything. So that was really nice. It was nice to walk into a space where we felt like they did nice upgrades. The paint scheme was not anything that we felt like we needed to immediately change, although we have had to because little kids don't do well in flat paint. But it was just something that going into that space, we knew more what we wanted and what we needed. And we were also educated from the first experience to not just look at our current needs, but what was our potential need in the future for the space that we needed. And so we ended up in a home that we could continue to grow in and be here much longer term than our first home, knowing what we knew in that experience and working alongside you and the guidance that you provided us.
Yeah, new construction is so different. When we did your first home, we would do an inspection, we'd get the report, and I'd talk with you about, hey, this isn't a punch list like a new construction. So the seller may or may not address some of these areas, but we're going to go after areas that maybe are of safety concern or a little bit more expensive, or in that realm we're going to focus on. Then we get to the new construction, and you have that walkthrough where you're literally, okay, this is my time to point out every little piece. And I remember even with Erica, the blue tape, at first it's like, well, I feel bad like noting. And then you get about a half hour into it and the blue tape is just flying, that little nick and that little,
She loved it. She was in her space, and which is good because when you're
yeah,
making that investment on new construction,
yeah,
you want it to give you that starting point where you don't feel like you have to come in and fix things. And so, yeah, the blue tape, she was all over it, and I'm
yeah,
glad that she was because I was more relaxed because of the experience in our first home where I knew that like
yeah,
I could fix it if I need
I
to.
could do this.
But she was
But
very much
yeah.
so, hey, we're going to come into this home and not have to fix anything.
Yeah, and you do see things after, even with all that blue tape,
Oh
you
yes,
still get into a different angle and you're like, hey, there's a nick in my wall here, or that didn't get touched or finished. So new construction does have its benefits in that. It's always different when we're dealing sometimes in the new construction because it's maybe a builder contract or something that's different. Maybe they're giving a warranty, but we're not sure, are they really going to come back and fix this and address this? And each of those have their own experience that shapes that. But yeah, the blue tape is always so funny to me because usually clients start out a little bit more meek and then we're going through that role.
quickly hand over the blue tape. So
Yeah, you're like, give me the blue tape, Eric. No, it's a beautiful home, and the space that it has allowed you guys, I'm sure, has been well used by you now with the four, and they've spread out, and your toys are everywhere now on
yes,
double the space. But you got an office, that was important.
that was very important. So working from home and being able to have dedicated space was one of those things where I knew that I needed.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, I'll tell you this, when I say that we are buying for the space in the future, we moved from a two-bathroom house, and somehow all four children love to use the downstairs bathroom only. And so we're still technically using two bathrooms, but when they need the other ones, they have
Yeah.
them. And
Oh, it will be soon. It will be very soon. Those teen years, you're going to be glad for that.
absolutely.
Well, I loved being able to help you guys. That was a great part of the journey. But I've also just admired your family and your commitment to each other and the core values that you guys have had. And I was so excited to learn recently about one of your new entrepreneurships and Resolute Training. And I would love for you just to share that vision and journey and what that's all about, because that again speaks to the journey that you've come through and your servant leadership mindset. But tell me a little bit about this new venture that you have.
Funny thing is that I wasn't even supposed to be a part of this adventure. And I had worked with somebody at CarMax, and they were going through their undergrad and their graduate years in the exercise sciences, became a general manager at a private training facility. And I kept encouraging him to go and open up his own business. And he came to me at some point and said, why don't we do it?
Hmm.
And so that really started the framework of the conversation of what kind of business would we want to bring. And it was really important for number one to bring a business that served our local community. And that really shows up in our values. And so we're here to serve, we're here to lead, and we're here to grow locally, both youth athletes and adults, to really build resiliency in them. Yes, the fitness and the healthy lifestyle of Resolute Training and being in a fitness facility is important, but it really is about building resilience inside and outside of the gym and finding ways to overcome adversity, to get through that next goal, to continue to push ourselves, and to create a space where no matter what you look like or how strong you are or the background that you have, that we're there to work hard, we're there to encourage each other. And it's been an absolute amazing time. I will never forget the first week that we opened in our facility. So we're located in Jefferson. We opened a training facility there, and the first week we're filled with classes. We've got tons of people in there, and I just had chills up
Hmm.
my arm because you're starting to see a community come together and to make a commitment to improve their lives. And so when I think about what we ended up wanting to do in that space, we were starting to achieve that. We were starting to bring that community together. And it's been an awesome 2 months that we've been open in our facility. We originally opened as an outdoor youth speed and agility training camp over the summer, and that quickly just evolved and spun to a brick and mortar facility that we're in today. And we're just getting started, and we can't wait to continue to serve and help people locally serve and to live and to expand locally our business, Resolute Training.
So is that for all ages, or what ages are you focused primarily on?
So for our youth training, we start at 7 in elementary school, and so we really segment them based off of first their grades. And we have elementary group, we have a middle school group, and then we have a high school group. And we are looking really at the individual. So even though we support private training, semi-private training, and large group training, we look at the individual athlete and we determine, are they ready to move up to a higher level? And so we just had an athlete who's in middle school move up to the high school group because of his strength, because of his speed. And so we take an individualized approach in our group settings to get the most out of the athletic development that we're providing. And then obviously the adult training as well, where you can have your kid train and then you can also be training right alongside them.
Now, do you guys, or is it every day, or how does it operate as far as the hours and time?
For sure. So we are opened Monday through Saturday. Sunday is our day of rest.
Mm-hmm.
So we have large group classes that are throughout the day, a couple sessions in the morning and early afternoon, and then a couple sessions in the evening. And then all in between, we have private training opportunities that you can work one-on-one with one of our certified coaches. And so we're busy. We start at 5 a.m. and we don't close until 7 or 8 p.m. every day. And it's just an awesome time. It's a positive atmosphere to walk in that's encouraging. It's non-judgmental. And our goal is to really meet people where they're at and then just continue to help elevate them in their fitness journey.
Yeah, I love that. And Tyler, how have your kids been able to be a part of this journey with you in that?
Kids and Erica, so I got to give her a ton of credit. If you walk into our facility, you're going to see a huge logo on one of the walls, and that's credit to Erica. When you start a business like we have, there's a ton of work that has gone into this and a ton of surprises. And similar to our real estate journey, you have to be patient all along the way, and you have to understand the adversity and how you're going to overcome it. And so our kids and Erica have helped a ton in all of the details that they can. Our own kids are training. The ones that are old enough to train are in there and learning and growing and being a part of that community and that atmosphere. But then they also help with their spray bottles and wiping down the benches and stocking the fridge and just being in that space, because it's something that as much as family is important to us out of the facility, we also want people to see and feel how much this is a family-run business. And Zach, my business partner, he has 2 young kids as well. And so bringing them into that atmosphere, bringing them into that community, having them to help in their own little ways that they can help and just build people up, and they're shouting and clapping for people, and to see them in that space and to see how much they've grown, the older 2 have grown already, is tremendous. And like we talked about earlier, everything that we do is around the decisions that we're making for our family and how we can help build a legacy and build a community for them in our home and now with our business, Resolute Training.
Yeah, I love that. I love that your journey from military and the flexibility, the resilience, the adaptability, and then your loyalty and tenure with a company, REMAX, and then this founding of this new venture and how you're incorporating your family into that. I mean, you've got the big picture in mind of all of that's your core foundation within that. And what's something that you hope that your kids learn from watching you make these big life and business decisions?
That they can do hard things. Simply put, I think that is the piece that we want for our kids, is that no matter how hard it is, no matter how far out of reach it feels, that if they persevere, if they keep working towards it, that they will hit the goals that they want to achieve. And that it's not always going to be easy, but that if they surround themselves with people that are positive, that are supportive, that can guide them, and if they just simply persevere, that they can achieve whatever it is that they put their minds to. And we're seeing that already in the space that we're in for Resolute Training, in our home, that they continue to push themselves and to be better people for each other, better people for our community, and better people for God. And so that's really what we're looking for them to achieve.
I love that. And it's obvious why you are one of my favorite families that I've worked with, you just have such a great focus on others and the commitment to your family and community. And I love that aspect. And it certainly was my privilege and honor to walk with your family on a small portion of that journey. And I'm excited for this new venture ahead. And Tyler, where can people find out more about Resolute Training? Where can they find you online that they can help connect with?
Absolutely. So they can visit our website, www.resolute-training.com, or they can find us on Instagram with the tag @Resolute Training.
Love that. Thank you so much, Tyler, for letting me just join you today and talk about our journey and then your journey with your family and this new venture. I greatly appreciate your time and look forward to our next visit together.
Of course, Meredith, it was great to be here.
Thank you for tuning in to Wise Move. I hope today's episode provided you with the tools and insights you need to confidently navigate your real estate, community, and life journey. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and please share this podcast with friends and family who are making their own moves. Stay connected for more real estate insights, and remember, every great move starts with a wise move.